Welcome to the Jared Williams Show. I'm Jared. This is my co-host, Joel, the less handsome version of myself. And today I'm going to teach you the easiest way to legally not pay taxes. Actually, easiest ways. And this is exactly what I do for my plumbing business that does over $5 million a year in revenue. And these hacks have saved me hundreds of thousands of dollars a year instead of just letting the government waste my money.
Whoa, hey, easy. The government's our friend.
On a side note, how are you doing, Joel?
I'm doing good.
The government is not your friend, but I'm glad you're doing good.
Wait a second. Now I'm so confused.
Dude, it's confusing. I mean, that's why we're doing the podcast.
Yeah, man, I'm doing good.
Okay.
It's morning time.
It's morning. We're doing an earlier podcast today, which is cool.
Yeah, we just want to keep you guys always in the know about how the podcast world functions.
Dude, our podcast schedule is a disaster right now.
It is. Well, there's lots of moving parts happening. It's just
has been for a while.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get back to some consistency in our lives, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Let's talk about really quick, because we were talking about this before the podcast, and it's one of my soapbox topics.
Your soapbox topic.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
So I've been thinking about this a lot, you know, especially when like running and you don't have anything else to think about. The notion that in our culture specifically, I don't know about any other cultures, but it seems to be that we're always taught that we're special. Like whether it's through movies, even like church and religion and all these things, is that like we are all very special. And I kind of think that that idea should just go away.
That we're all very special. Tell me more.
Like, I think it's okay to like understand that like people are valuable because they're people, they're made in the image of God, et cetera, like however you want to, whatever you want to believe in that respect. I think that's important. But this whole idea that like I'm special, like I am like out here purposeful, like there's a path for me that only I can do. Like I think I
was talking to my son about this yesterday. Maybe my daughter. No, I was talking to my daughter about this yesterday. I took her out to eat last night to a good steak restaurant here. Steak was good last night.
Is it your normal go?
Yeah, I'm convinced steaks are better on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Oh yeah.
Because they're less busy.
Data shows.
I feel like they have more time and attention to put into each and every steak.
Yeah, instead of like we gotta turn out like 25 steaks.
It was freaking good, dude.
Gotcha.
I ate 2.5 pounds of beef. I have been eating 2.5 pounds of beef on average for the last month. Isn't that wild?
That's super special to you.
It's a lot of beef, dude. So this came up in conversation because she has a boyfriend. He's a cool kid. Really nice parents, nice kid, nice family. And we were talking about what he wants to do when he gets out of college.
You were talking with your daughter about
with my daughter about what her boyfriend wants. They're like, they're going to be out of high school next year.
Sure.
And his parents want him to go to college, not college, high school. What they're going to do when they get out of high school.
Yeah, okay.
His parents really want him to go to college.
Yeah.
They went to college. They're teachers. They teach at a Christian school here. And he doesn't want to go to college. And so he's been talking to his parents, and they've come to the conclusion of like, well, whatever God calls you to. Like it's you have a purpose, right? You're a special person, and you're called to a specific thing.
Yeah.
And I asked my daughter, I said, do you believe in a special purpose or a calling on your life? And she goes, in a sense that like I'm presented with opportunities and I can walk down opportunities, and if they work out. And I said, so isn't that really just like taking advantage of your opportunities?
Sure.
And using like your brain and your willpower to work and achieve things to make opportunities happen. It's not really like this thing that you're called to. I would agree. I mean, I think there's a God, and I think my personal opinion is he curates those opportunities for you, but not that I don't feel like I'm called to anything.
Yeah.
But I guess the whole point of this is probably just to get to rid of the idea that you're different.
Yeah.
You're special.
Yeah, and that like somehow the specialness or your uniqueness either gives you advantages or disadvantages. When it's like, man, just like I would say like you can create your own advantages and you can sort of dictate.
You can spin everything as an advantage or a disadvantage. It depends on your perspective.
Yeah.
And how you view it.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes if you think like you're special, then when something doesn't go your way, then it like crushes that identity.
Yeah.
Where you're like, well, I was supposed to be a really good musician, but I'm not. So I guess I just don't know who I am anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
How many times have you seen that?
Oh,
I see it
tons.
all, like growing up in Alaska,
Mm-hmm.
all the time with hockey kids.
Yeah, sure, of course.
They grow up spending every last waking second playing hockey, being told they're going to go to the NHL. And then when they get out of high school,
Sure, of course.
and they don't get a college scholarship, or even if they go to college and get a scholarship, but then they don't make it to the NHL, and they come back to Fairbanks and they're working a construction job. I've worked with hundreds of these guys.
Yeah.
And they're like, they're just depressed. They're just miserable people. And it's just their perspective.
Yep.
They're like, I was
supposed to, yeah, because I think it breeds this. I was supposed to do this. But
Yeah.
then the world like rose up against me, and it's not my fault. It's just all these things. And I think sort of with that special focus, I mean, it's an inward focusing idea that I think then makes you much more likely to feel entitled. Like, well, this was my purpose or my calling, and it's not my fault it didn't work out. It just didn't work out.
Yep.
Instead of being like, maybe you didn't try hard enough, or maybe you didn't like actually assess the situation and the likelihood that your skill set was going to give you the result and the work that you put in.
Here's the real killer of what that does to people. And we see it all the time in just people's businesses. They think their business is different.
Yeah, sure.
Their market is different. Their customers are different. They can't do what this guy did because they're different. Everything's different. When the reality is we all live in the same exact world.
Sure.
The only difference between the guy who was successful and the guy who wasn't were the actions he took to become successful. The work he put in, the perspective he had. That's the only difference. And it's crazy. What the weirdest part is, until you experience it, you don't know.
Yeah, that's probably the most frustrating part, because like if you don't experiencing it, you're just kind of following the footsteps of somebody else, like looking at what they did and go, well, it worked out for them. If I just keep inputting the good advice that like even like the things that we talk about, like if every day I wake up and I just input good things, over time, I will get to where I want to go. And then I can look back and go, hey, it worked.
So I remember, I've been thinking about this a lot lately because there's been so many times where this has happened in my life, but I remember wanting to be more successful and looking at people who were successful. And a lot of them were, I couldn't find like people that had successful plumbing businesses that I could go like, what are you doing? And so a lot of when you get into like the success world and the like, it's almost like a self-help.
Sure.
Like how do I become more successful? Everybody starts with mindset. And you're coming to this in a bad mindset, but you don't know it. And then somebody's telling you you have a bad mindset, but they can't explain it to you.
Right.
Because you won't understand it until you experience it.
Right.
And it's the doing of the stuff that gets you the experience of having a mindset shift or a perspective shift, right? And so if you just hang back and you're scared and you don't do the things, right? Take the risks, make the actions, you'll never have the mindset shift. And the reason they talk about mindset is because you have to have that mindset shift to be successful. You absolutely have to. But you can't until you do. It's the doing that makes it work.
If you could sum up just what that mindset is in like a couple words.
Nope. I can't. Sure. It's just a different way of looking at the world. It's a different understanding of how the world works that you gain through experience.
Do you think that mindset shifts over time when you gain different experiences?
Yeah. Yeah, my mindset keeps getting better and better and better every day.
Sure.
Right.
Can you practice like good mindset habits?
Kind of. I mean, if you want to read probably the best book I've ever read on this was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He talks about perspective and how, and he gives you some examples of like
classic business book.
Yes. It's a good book though. Like if you actually read it, it's a good book. And I remember there was the one that stuck out to me that completely changed my life. This one thing that I read, right? There was actually two things in there that really helped me shift my mindset and get closer to the path that I'm on now. It was a long time ago. But I remember I wanted to be more successful, and Alex Bourne actually gave me the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is funny, knowing Alex now.
Yeah, that's funny. You should give it back to him.
I really should, because he doesn't do any of this stuff.
Yeah.
So in that book, he talks about this guy who would go to work, and he would learn what his boss wanted. Like, what does my boss actually want me to do, and what is his idea of what success looks like, and how do I do my best to give him what he wants? And this guy shows up early. He always puts in the extra effort. He always makes sure his boss is getting the desired outcome that he wants, regardless of what he thinks, right? And talking about how valuable that employee is. And at the time, I was working at a place where most attitudes were pretty poor, and the culture was pretty poor. And there was this one guy that would show up 30 minutes early. He would work really hard. The boss would come from the office out to the shop every day, and it was like probably a whole minute walk. He would walk out every day. He would he would watch to see him coming, and he would walk out and meet him and walk the rest of the way with him in and make sure that whatever the boss wanted happened. And everybody else was like, oh man, he's such a kiss ass. What a loser. Blah, 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 blah. But that guy worked there longer than anybody else. He got paid the most. He had the best benefits, and he was well taken care of.
Sure.
Until the day he retired. Right? And I was like, you know what? He's not a kiss ass. He's smarter than I am.
Sure.
Like he's actually just guaranteeing that he's being more successful than I am. And he was. That was a huge mindset shift for me. I started showing up to work early, putting in extra effort, not complaining when things didn't go my way, not worrying about the extra 5 minutes here or the 15 minutes here, or I didn't get a break here or whatever.
Right. Yeah, sure.
Because who cares? Right? And it helped me out. It worked very well. The other thing in that book was when they talked about your perspective. And so they gave a scenario of somebody that was acting a certain way towards another person. And this other person had no idea the history of the other person. And they crafted this story in such a way where once you learned the history, like at first you were like, oh my gosh, that guy is such a dick.
Right.
And then you learned the history of what he'd gone through to get to the point of where he was at. And all of a sudden you didn't think he was a dick. You felt bad for him. And so when we're interacting with other people on our day-to-day, we don't know their background. And we should just assume the perspective that they are the way they are because of the history that they have.
Sure.
Right? It was a good book to read, just to get me to think a little different.
And that what you said there is really important when you're in like a customer serving environment, because it's really easy to have that customer become your opponent. Because they're the one who's keeping you from the sale, or they're the one who has an attitude. And you have to deal with that kind of thing. It's really easy to flip that in your brain, but within the construct of a business, like that customer is the thing you need. It is the most important thing. And so understanding that, like if they're mad, like it's not you, it's not your fault.
No, you don't know how bad of a day they had.
Yeah, you don't know like what's going on in their life yesterday or the day before, and so it's like
you don't know if their dad died yesterday.
Exactly, and if you would know these things, you'd feel way different.
You don't know if they got a divorce that morning.
Nope,
like, you have no clue.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting how really easy that we go, oh, this is about me, right? Like, oh, this customer's mad. It's about me, obviously. Like, oh, they just don't want to pay the price because they're cheap or whatever. And you start to come to all these conclusions that don't have any basis. It's just really, you just take it very personally.
Yep. And you have to do that with your employees, and employees need to do that with people who they're basically their bosses.
Yeah.
Like if you got a manager, the thing, like, no matter where you go work, I just had this conversation with one of my employees the other day. I said, look, he wasn't getting along with my manager. Like, look, no matter where you go, you're going to work with somebody that you don't get along with.
Yep.
The difference between having fun at work and being miserable at work is your choice.
Yeah, 100%.
So choose. Right now, you're choosing to be miserable.
Mm-hmm.
Choose the opposite for your own sake.
Yeah.
You'll be much happier, I promise. Mm-hmm. I know when I made that choice, my life got a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Lots better.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody's listening to this, like, no matter what business you're in, your business is not different.
Right.
It's the same freaking business as everybody else's.
Right.
The only thing different is you are refusing to do the stuff to be successful because you think you're different or special.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not true. That is a belief that you believe that does not exist in the real world.
Yeah. And really, like, you don't have enough data to, like, say that, well, my business actually is special, Jared. Or, like, because I hear this a lot, like, well, there is no good customers in my market.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
dude, I used to think that my market was different. I'm in Alaska.
Sure.
In a little town. Oh, my market's just weird. It's different. The people here are different people.
Yeah.
Different kind of people.
Yeah.
They're not. They're the same freaking people that are down here in Florida. The systems that work in Alaska work in Florida. The systems that work in Florida work in New York. Mm-hmm. There's going to be slight tweaks to them, but the concepts and the ideas are identical.
Yeah.
The people are identical.
Mm-hmm.
The way you run your business is identical.
Yes.
It's no different.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all. I have taken ideas and ways of doing things from successful people all over the United States and implemented them in Alaska. And every single time it works. Mm-hmm. Every time I learn something that somebody in Texas is doing, or somebody in California is doing, or somebody in Washington is doing, or somebody in Maine is doing, or somebody in Canada is doing, and it's working, and it makes logical sense of why it works, and I go take it and I put it in my business in Alaska, guess what? It works because it's not special. It's just a business. It's a series of systems.
It's a system.
That's it. Mm-hmm. It's a machine.
Yeah. And I think, like, we use the word system, and system is a good way to describe it, but we just have to, like, actually know what that means. Yeah. And really what it means is that this is like the same ideas go into the system and give you the same output. That's a system.
This is what it's like saying when you say that won't work in my market, or that doesn't work for my plumbers, or whatever. It's like if I bought a Rolex and I said, this won't work if you put it on your wrist.
Yeah.
Or you said, oh, I can't wear your Rolex. It won't work on my wrist.
Yeah. My wrist is a little thicker and, hairier.
No. The Rolex works no matter whose wrist it's on.
The
right?
Rolex
no matter
is
what country it's
it.
in, right? Your business is the same way. Exact same way.
Yeah.
You're not special.
Yeah.
Get over yourself.
True. Get over yourself.
Like, you're not that cool.
Yeah, like exactly. Like, you're not that cool. Just go start doing consistent work.
Yeah.
Every day, over and over and over again.
Which should be totally good news to you.
Yeah, it's actually super liberating, because once you can, like, shed the weight of being special, like, think about it from, like, a child actor's perspective, where they're told that they're special, they have this amazing talent, they're gonna make all this money. Now that person has to be that persona their whole life.
Yeah.
When instead of being like, hey, I'm not special, now I can do what I want.
Yeah.
If I want to go and do something very difficult, I know that it's up to me to input good effort, and I can do the difficult thing. Doesn't matter what it is, I can do it.
Yeah, you just have to learn how.
You just have to learn how, and then apply the amount of effort that takes you to get there.
Correct.
It's going to be harder for some people than other people, but I would say operating with a mindset that, like, hey, it's all achievable.
Yeah.
And then go out and try.
It's literally, I feel like it's a cheat code to life.
Yeah, and it sounds...
I grew up thinking that my life was what my life was, and that I was dealt the hand that I was dealt, and that I couldn't change the hand that I was dealt. And that hand played out for my entire life. When I realized, when I had the mindset shift of, I can do whatever the hell I want, and I don't have to be smart. I don't have to be special. I don't have to be different. literally all I have to do is learn what somebody else has already done and copy it, and I can achieve a success that I didn't think was possible beforehand. That, to me, it was like, well, how much can I learn? How far can I push this thing? This is amazing. It's awesome. I became I'm just a really good copier. That's it. I have not had an original idea my entire life. I just copy crap.
And arguably nobody, like the chances of somebody having an original idea is like very, very small.
Yeah, some people have original ideas. Like Bill Gates created I don't even know the whole story, so I probably can't talk to that. But
yeah. Well, even like statistically, the idea that you came up with something, you're like, oh my gosh, this is the first iteration of this idea.
Well,
it's
and
like
that's
very rare, and you shouldn't consider that you're going to be one of those people that's going to come up with that thing.
Yeah, and what's funny is that's what people want.
Yeah, well,
they want it the most. They want to
people,
get rich quick and easy. They want it to be easy. But I got news for you. It ain't easy.
And people then also will be like, well, because I also want to be special. Because not only does our culture say that we are special, but it also says we should aspire to be special.
Yeah.
And I would say, it's like, dude, that's like way overrated. Like, you should aspire to be like, I would say, like, you should aspire to like for me, like, I should aspire to love Christ and love my family and just do a really good job at the things that I'm doing. And then have integrity and tell the truth and don't believe lies.
Being special isn't going to make you happy.
No, if anything, it's probably going to hurt your happiness because you're going to be chasing an idea that actually is just like a cultural perspective.
Yep.
That's probably just derived from good marketing from movies and companies trying to sell you stuff.
Yeah.
You're special, so you should get the thing that makes you look special,
Yeah.
like this Gucci bag.
Tapping into human emotion.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, we believe we're special because marketers have told us that we're special so they can sell us stuff.
Probably.
You know?
Or get you to tear up during a movie or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which makes me go to the next movie.
Yeah.
So it's just not worth it. Okay, cool, man. All right, taxes. My favorite thing.
Dude.
Government's so cool.
Taxes.
Takes all my money and spends it on really helpful things. Is that what this podcast is about, by the way? Or are we going to just rant and complain about the government?
We're just going to rant and rave
about
government and taxes.
Okay.
Okay, I learned like why we're going to get into taxes, why to avoid them, how to avoid them, all that crap. But I learned something crazy. And I haven't thought this all the way through now that I'm thinking about it. So,
dude, this is a public forum is as good a place as any to think out thoughts.
This is what I heard, and it kind of makes initial sense to me. I haven't thought all the way through, but what I heard was states were all going bankrupt, right? And so we needed to inflate the dollar.
And this is like recent history. This is like old or like
recent history. Like inflation is through the roof.
Oh, of course,
over the last few years, right? States were going bankrupt because they can't manage their money, just like the federal government. Well, when they print more money, and I hadn't thought about it this way, like when they print more money, they raise inflation, right?
Sure.
Inflation goes through the roof because they're just creating more cash. And what ends up happening is stuff starts to cost more, right? So then we have to, when we spend, we have to spend more, and we can't save as much, right? Well, if you've got a sales tax in your state, what does that do to the amount of money you collect in sales taxes?
It increases?
It increases. You all of a sudden are collecting way more money. So if inflation goes up by 20% and, you know, that's a lot more cash that you're collecting. If you think of it in percentages, it gets pretty wild.
Are you going to be paying sales taxes on goods that you acquire, though? Like, to run your business? So is there a point where, like, is it going to equal out?
I'm not even thinking about business, just personally.
Oh, sure.
And then, like, then employers are going to have to start paying people more, and you just raise the amount of, like, dollar amounts, right, circulating, and you're taking the same cut out of it, but because the dollar amounts are higher, you get more dollars, right? Proportionally more dollars that you can then go spend on dumb stuff. Not you, but the government, your state government can go spend on dumb stuff.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So it was like inflation was part of the plan of bailing out the states.
Gotcha.
Federal inflation was part of bailing out the states.
Because then instead of just, because they gave the governments more money or whatever, right? But then since inflation goes up, and then they'll collect more money through the taxes that are already established just because the dollar amounts are higher.
Yep. Percentage stays the same.
Yeah.
But the amount gets bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like if you increase revenue without increasing overhead,
right,
the percent stays the same.
Right.
But the actual dollar amounts that get spit out on the bottom are a lot.
Yeah.
Which we're going to talk about on our next podcast.
Oh, cool.
We're going to talk all about margin on our next podcast. It's going to be rad. It's
Margarine?
actually gonna be
I do real
margarine.
butter.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I don't use margarine anymore. My mom does.
Does she really?
Yeah, she loves
Dude,
fake butter.
You got to tell her to quit.
She's
bad
old.
for you.
She's
Seed
already,
oils.
she's already like...
She's not old. She's like halfway through her life.
Yeah, well,
She's got a lot of years left, man.
she's got a lot of time to smoke cigarettes and eat margarine. She doesn't smoke.
Okay, let's get into taxes. So I feel dumb saying this, but why avoid taxes?
Yeah, especially when the government's got your best interests at heart. It's like it's really gonna like build parks and beautiful schools, and it's a good question, Jared.
Okay, so aside from that, right? You know, why give the government more money than you have to? Like a lot of people, me included, think they're not going to use it very well. But even that aside,
There's no data to back that up, by the way.
Okay, pretty sure we could probably come up with some pretty strong evidence.
No. It's all fake news.
Yeah. Dude, it's like the well, we should not go into that.
Yeah, it's okay.
That'll
I've
be a
derailed this
long
conversation
podcast.
like a lot already.
Okay, so other than just not trusting the government
Sure,
to
of
use
course.
your money efficiently,
Yeah.
when you take that cash out of your business and you give it to the government, that's cash that you can't use,
Right.
right? And if you have a good business and you built a machine like you're talking about, and you have a good mindset, well, then you have a thing that you can reinvest into that will produce more cash.
Right.
And so when you give the government your money and you don't reinvest it back in your business, you're losing astronomical amounts of money on the back end, right? So that tax bill isn't just costing you that tax bill, it's costing you a lot more in the long term. And so what wealthy people do is they legally avoid paying taxes, reinvest that money back into their business, and then use it to grow their income.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, should we say that we're not tax people or something? I don't know like why people say that.
I'm not a tax person.
Really? Oh, okay.
I don't know. If you take my advice, don't sue me if it goes bad. How about that?
Yeah, because we're not tax professionals.
Okay, and we're going to get into tax professionals.
My favorite topic.
You know my thoughts on tax professionals.
I do.
Okay, so you can see, like, if I had a business that I knew that gives me, 10x ROI on my income, and I could put 10 grand in and get 100 grand out, or put 100 grand in and get $1 million out.
Yeah.
It's the best investment you can make in your entire life. There is no other thing that you can invest to that I know of that gives you those kinds of returns. Okay. So like take my business, for instance. I put my initial like couple grand into it, and now it makes me over $1 million a year. That's a massive like return on investment.
Yes.
Massive. So to me, it's like the best investment you can make. Now it's more risky,
Sure.
right? But how do you decrease the risk in that?
I don't know.
So skills decrease risk.
Yep.
Okay.
That's what I was gonna say.
If I were if you were if I were to say you got to run a 7-minute mile, and if you don't, you're gonna owe me $500, and if you do, I'm gonna owe you $500. So anything over 7, you owe me. Anything under, I owe you. What would be the best thing you could do to avoid having to pay me $500?
Go practice running a 7-minute mile.
Become better at running.
Sure.
Right. So skill gets rid of the risk.
Right.
It's the exact same way in business. The more skilled you are at running your business, the less risk there is. Okay. So if you become extremely skilled at running the style of business you're in, there's relatively low risk and extremely high reward.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
It's one of the greatest things on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, this is why like Grant Cardone can be like, I'll get a business to $1 million in 90 days.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I know how the thing works.
It's skill.
And he has skill and he has extreme confidence in his skill. And those two things combined together just make him able to actually accomplish something like that.
Yep. If all hell broke loose and Grant Cardone went tits up and broke, that's a funny phrase, by the way. I was thinking about that the other day. Like, where did that phrase come from? And then I thought for a second, I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
He would likely be able to be successful again relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Why? Skill.
Yeah.
So again, skill got rid of the risk. Okay. So we need to be skilled. Okay. So now we know we have a business. We can avoid taxes. We can use skill to reinvest the money and have massive upside.
Yeah.
So I feel like we should talk about, I have a few different ways that we can avoid taxes, like ways that I've used. And probably the first one I'll tell you is it's not really avoiding taxes. It's just not paying them.
Yeah. Definitely a strategy.
So, I mean, you can't not pay your taxes at the end of the year, but you can not pay your quarterly taxes. And your accountant is not going to like you for it, typically. And if that's the case, I would just go get a new accountant.
Get a more chill accountant.
Well, I would go get an accountant that understands, like, you're not there to follow rules per se. You're there to maximize your income. That's the whole purpose of the business. And that's where accountants kind of fail. They get stuck in this is how we do it.
Sure.
Outside of this is not how we do it. And so we have to follow these guidelines and these rules and these best practices.
Or even like there's guidelines, rules, and best practices, but then this is how accountants do it within the school of accounting.
Yeah.
So like if you're asking your accountant to help you with something, they're going to do it how they were taught to do it, and they're not going to deviate from that, even if you see advantages to deviate.
Yep.
Because they're going to go, well, this is how it is.
We'll come back to that.
Okay.
Okay. So typically what's going to happen is you're going to get through the quarter, and the following month, your accountant's going to say, hey, we need to pay quarterly taxes. They're due by this date. And you're going to say, okay, how much? And the accountant's going to go back and they're going to crunch a bunch of numbers that honestly don't do you any good. And they're going to tell you,
why don't the numbers do you any good?
Because they don't know your business.
Oh, so they're going to crunch numbers and then supply you with these numbers?
Yep.
And then you're like, but those numbers aren't actually helpful to you as the business owner.
They can't. No, because you don't know you don't know how they came up with those numbers.
Oh, sure.
So
they just like go behind the curtain, do cool stuff, and then come out like, here's a piece of paper.
Yep, here's how much you need to pay in taxes. And they base it off of like last year's revenue compared to this year's revenue.
Is that how quarterly taxes are figured? Is sort of in that schema?
They're trying to figure out like, they're trying to get you to pay the right amount of quarterly taxes so that at the end of the year, you don't owe any taxes, but you don't get a big return.
Yeah, gotcha. So
but here's the thing. Think about an accountant. If you had an accountant and they were figuring your quarterly taxes and you were paying the quarterly taxes, and at the end of the year, you got a big return, how would you feel about it?
I guess I'd feel good.
Okay.
If I wanted a return.
Now, let's run the other scenario. Let's say you're paying your quarterly taxes and all of a sudden you owe another $100,000. You didn't pay enough.
Oh man, I'd be super
How would you
irritated.
Feel?
Yeah, I'm already irritated just thinking about it.
So what is the accountant incentivized to do?
To make sure I get a fat return.
Well, they're incentivized to have you pay more than what's needed so that you don't owe money at the end of the year.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's a good idea. Why do I think it's a good idea? Like, why do I think that that's a good idea?
Well, most people are viewing that as like a savings account. But we already determined your business is the best thing you can invest in.
Yeah.
Not a savings account via the IRS.
Sure.
There's no interest on that money.
Yeah.
It's just money gone for an amount of time that you don't have.
Yeah.
And the hardest part about growing a home service business is cash flow.
Sure.
So how do we create more cash flow? Well, if you don't pay your quarterly taxes, you can hold on to that cash until the end of the year and only pay in taxes what you actually owe.
Yeah. So the purpose of quarterly taxes is to make sure that, like, from the government's perspective, it's like, hey, guy, because correct me if I'm wrong, but
from the government's perspective, they want to take your money,
of course,
at the end of every quarter because they get money sooner
Yeah,
than
sure.
if they were to take it at the end of the year.
Just a different pay plan for them.
Helps them with their cash flow.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Well, I don't care about the government's cash flow. I care about my cash flow, right?
Yeah.
And so you'll pay a fine of not paying your quarterly taxes. But oftentimes that fine is so small and the return on the money that you get by keeping it and reinvesting it in your business until the end of the year is much greater than the fines you pay. And that's something an accountant won't think about.
Yeah, because they'll look at you and be like, yeah, but you're supposed to do this.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, yeah, but I'll make more money if I don't.
And they're like, yeah, but you're going to pay a fine. And you say, yes, I know. I'm okay with it. Okay, so here's a couple real world examples of how this has worked out in...
Real quick, Jared, isn't it unethical to break rules?
No. Rules were meant to be broken.
Well, people say that, but...
So there's a rule that you have to pay quarterly taxes. Then there's a rule that says, if you don't, you're going to get fined this much. So are you breaking the rule by not paying your quarterly taxes?
Sure, or are you just becoming the exception to the rule and then paying the penalty?
The government's going to get their money. I'm just going to choose to not follow this guideline and follow this one, where they get to take my penalty.
Yeah.
It's legal.
Sure.
So is it breaking the rules? Can you go to court for it? Are you going to go to jail for it? No. You're not. You're just going to pay a fine. So just pay the fine.
Okay, cool. I'm satisfied.
Okay. So here's real world examples of how this has worked out in my life, just to give a better understanding of it. When I first started my business, I was out making a ton of money, billing out revenue, and I was not collecting cash up front. I was like sending invoices through email, which you should never do, by the way. Collect cash on site.
Yeah.
Gets you better cash flow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you're not chasing people.
Paid today.
Via email.
Got to get paid today. Don't chase people. Don't get scared of giving people a bill. That was my problem. I was like, I'll email you the bill.
Yeah. We'll let the computer do the talking.
Yeah. Which is like, what a big puss, huh?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I was doing that, being a puss.
Also, email's convenient for nobody. Just putting it out there.
Oh, yeah. Sucks for the customer, too.
Especially in this day and age.
The customer just wants to pay you and never think about you ever again.
Yeah, I don't want a bill hovering over me.
No, they don't want to have to dig through their email to find a bill, to go enter their credit card information. They just want to hand you their credit card, you swipe it, done.
I get 150 emails a day.
I get thousands.
Yeah, I don't want to have to like track Jared's plumbing business.
Yeah. Okay, so I was doing that, and the quarter ended, and I had a bookkeeper, and she was like, hey, it's time to pay quarterly taxes. They're due by this date. And I said, what are those? She's like, well, you got to pay your quarterly taxes. You got to pay taxes every quarter to avoid fines. And then at the end of the year, you'll either owe them a little more money or they'll owe you money based on whether or not you paid quarterly taxes properly. And I said, okay. And she goes, okay, so I'm going to get you in touch with my CPA, and she'll run the numbers and help you figure out how much you're going to owe in taxes. And I said, okay. So CPA comes back with the $1,700 bill to figure my quarterly taxes.
Oh, because that was a service that the CPA provided.
CPA provided the service, cost me $1,700, and she said, you owe $30,000 in taxes. And I was like,
dang.
I thought to myself, I said, I don't have 30 grand.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at the time, if I would have paid whatever I could, it would have just taken all of my cash flow.
Sure.
I think I had 18 grand at the time. And so I said, well, how did you come up with these numbers? And she walked me through it. BTW, if your CPA tells you something, don't just take it and go, that's what I got to do. Understand the stinking thing.
Yeah.
Dude. Okay. It's your... Well, we'll get into this. We'll get there later. So $1,700 later, I got this lady telling me I got to pay the government $30,000 that I don't have.
Sure.
And I'm like, how do you come up with this number? And so she tells me. And I'm like, this is like the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard of when I understand how you do this. And so I go do some research on my own. I'm like, what happens if you don't pay quarterly taxes? Oh, there's a fine. So I asked for that same account, and I said, what happens if I don't pay these quarterly taxes? She goes, oh, you get fined. I'm like, how much is the fine? She goes, well, crunch, 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 crunch. It'll be like $50.
Oh.
And I said, I'll take the fine.
Yeah.
I didn't even pay 30 grand at the end of the year.
Sure.
So had I continued down this road of just like
30 grand,
crap, I got to go borrow some money and pay these taxes, right? Or pay all of my cash flow out. I wouldn't have been able to grow my business over the course of the year.
Sure. Yeah, you'd have just been locked into where you were. But at the end of the year, you might have gotten a really big return.
So what?
And then you could grow your business the next year.
I had the cash in the bank the whole year instead of giving it all to the government to get a return at the end of the year. And I was able to use that cash to continue to grow my income. And I made out like a bandit. It was way better. Okay. Here's another example. This happened to me again this year. My accountant right now, she understands that I don't pay quarterly taxes. But then she's like, hey, if you just pay the last quarter, right? Taxes are due anyways. If you just pay the last quarter, I think it's by the end of April of the following year, you can pay the last quarter's taxes and you avoid the fine on that last quarter. And so she sends me an email and she's like, you need to pay $250,000 right now towards your last quarter taxes to avoid the fines. And I was like, man, 280 seemed like I calculated 180 for my taxes this year. And I was like, I don't think she's right. And she didn't have my tax return completely done yet.
Sure, of course.
This was quarterly taxes based on last year, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, based
blah,
on
blah,
these
blah,
things and all these
blah, blah,
metrics
blah.
that are just sort of like.
So I didn't pay it.
Yeah.
I said, I'll wait.
Just to see how it shakes out.
I'll wait and see how this shakes out.
Yeah.
So she gets my tax return done. I owe $180,000. That's $100,000 difference.
Yeah.
That's $100,000 that would have disappeared from my bank account. The IRS would have had it, earned interest on it, used it to make more money,
build more roads and parks, all that.
And then they were going to give it back to me months down the road.
Sure.
I would much rather have that cash in my bank account. You know how much my fines are?
Tens of thousands.
No, they're like $100.
Really?
A couple $100.
Like they don't scale or anything. They're just like,
I don't even know how they work, to be honest with you. But my fine could be 10 grand. I still would have paid the fine.
Sure, of course. Yeah, if you're looking at 10 grand or 250,000
to have the extra 90 that I can use.
Yeah.
Also, when she sends me my tax return, I didn't just not look at it and say, oh, this is what I'm paying.
Yeah.
I went and looked at what was in there so that I can understand what's going on. And I found that we didn't depreciate one of my rental properties. There goes another $80,000 in taxes that I don't have to pay.
So you're
now my tax liability is $100,000.
Yeah.
So I would have paid an extra $180,000.
Yeah, if you would have just taken it at face value.
If I just would have taken it at face value. Okay. You have to watch out. You have to watch your accountants. I don't want to say you have to watch them because they're looking out for your best interests, but they don't understand what your best interests are.
Yeah, they have a particular skill set.
Yeah.
And it is not your skill set, nor is it the skill set that's required to run your business. Like they are just a contractor who you hire to help you with a certain thing so you don't have to go to accounting school.
Correct.
But you still need to know exactly how your business works and how that contractor fits in and know where they fail.
You need to understand what your accountant is doing, how they're doing it, and how it applies to your business.
How long did it take you to like learn the things that you knew to be able to like catch that tax, that depreciation thing?
Dude, YouTube. I learned everything off of YouTube. Everything. Like when I need to search something, I learn very well with videos and like visual connection. And so I go to YouTube and I just search it. YouTube is like, to me, is the greatest. It's like God's greatest gift to man. You can literally learn so much stuff and you can get a very good broad understanding. And then you can start going and searching like the deeper topics that you need to learn and apply to your business. And you can learn stuff in no time. In absolutely no time. Between YouTube and coaching programs, you have no excuse to be broke anymore.
And that's true because
Zero.
there was like information available like nobody's business.
Yeah.
And the access that you can just type in a thing and get information in like 3 seconds is right there.
Yeah.
Like the only thing keeping people from it is they don't know how to ask questions or they're lazy.
Or their mindset, they don't think it'll work for them.
Yeah.
True. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So here, we got to go down this road.
'Kay.
Accountants. Okay. It's actually a huge problem and it goes beyond the accountant. And it's that business owners confuse delegation with getting rid of responsibility.
Yeah. How about this? Business owners confuse delegation with abdication.
Yeah. I don't like that one. I don't know what that means.
Well, they give their responsibility away. Like when you abdicate responsibility,
Yeah.
means I take it off of me and I give it to you, even though it shouldn't be yours in the first place.
Yeah. If you're the business owner, everything is your responsibility.
Yeah, 100%.
Everything that goes bad is your fault.
Wait, real quick. How do you know if you're the business? This is kind of a dumb question, but how do you know if you're the business owner?
What do you mean?
Well, just how do you know if you're the business owner?
You own the business. Your name is on the your name
Thank
is on the
you.
license.
Because here's the thing.
Why?
Because I'll have conversations with guys, and they're like, "Okay, well, let me talk to my business manager, who is an employee, about this decision." Now that's a good example of abdicating of responsibility. Because I would say, if their name ain't on the paperwork, it's not their business. And there is an incredible psychological reality that exists when your name isn't on that paper. Like, it's there.
I would agree. I can understand having to go and talk to like you might have people in your business that are better at one aspect of something than you are.
Sure, of course.
Right? And if you're in a situation where you're trying to make a decision on a topic where they're well-versed
Sure.
and experienced at, then I would want to go get their opinion. But I wouldn't let them make the decision.
Sure. Or if you like, if you felt really strongly about a direction and even in their opinion pushed against what you wanted to do, then I suppose it'd be up to you to really figure out. Like ultimately, it's your choice. If you feel great about it, then like, okay, well, hey guy, like it's my business. I'm just gonna go run with this and see what happens.
Yeah.
And maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong.
Yeah.
We'll just find out down the road a little bit.
I would just tell them, nah, I think you're wrong.
Yeah.
I'm going to prove it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So most owners are delegating their responsibilities when they hire a professional.
Yeah.
And they do this with their accountants. They do this with their marketing companies. They do this when they hire managers. They do this when they hire CSRs. They do this when they hire technicians.
Lawyers.
They do this when they hire lawyers. And you can delegate the doing of the stuff, but you are still responsible.
Sure.
You are still ultimately responsible for understanding what's going on and making sure that it's profitable for your business.
Yeah, but Jared, don't I hire these people so I don't have to learn all that stuff?
No.
Oh.
You hire it so you don't have to do all that stuff.
Oh.
You still need to learn it.
I think that's a really powerful distinction right there.
You have to understand it enough to be able to make good decisions for your company.
Yeah.
If you don't understand it, your decision making will be flawed.
Can you make like an analogy, like if you were hiring a subcontractor for a job?
Make an analogy if I was hiring a subcontractor for a job.
Like, cause like if you were managing a job, right? Would you hire somebody that you had no idea, like you didn't know what they were doing? Like you're just like, I'm just gonna hire this guy and he's gonna go do this work or something. I don't really understand what he's doing. I just think he's gonna go do a good job. Like, would you hire that person? Like, help me with this analogy, because it's like, my guess is you probably wouldn't. Like, if you just hired,
it'd be like you were going to build a house, and you desired a certain type of house at the end. End result, certain type of house that you love, right? And you went and hired a contractor, and you never looked at the plans for the house. And you never went and visited the house, and you never talked about colors, and you never talked about size and how many bedrooms and architectural design. You didn't look at any of that. And you just said, he's building a house. Now it's his responsibility.
Sure.
And then you got to the house when it was completed, and it was completely opposite of what you wanted. Except with business, you're not even going to get a house completed. That's the difference.
True.
Okay.
You'll just have an accountant like, What?
Yeah. It's insane.
It's not my business. What do you mean? I just did your taxes.
When I was broke, my accountant was like, "You're doing really good." And I was like, "I am?" In what world do you live in where I'm doing good?
Yeah.
I don't understand why you're saying that.
Was that just because you like had like relatively high revenue to what that accountant was used to experiencing?
She had no idea what she was looking at. She just saw money coming in. Hey, you're bringing money in. You're doing really good. And it's like money coming in ain't the goal. Money in my bank account is the goal. And I got none of that.
Yeah. Anybody can bring money in.
Zero. Yeah. It's like the old, I think I recorded a reel on this the other day. Would you rather have a $5 million business at 10% profit or a $3 million business at 20% profit?
Dude, that's a math question.
The 3 million makes more money.
Yeah.
And it's easier to run. I'd much rather have that. Okay. So don't do that with your accountant. Don't do it with your marketing company.
Yeah, don't give them responsibility. You have to understand. You have to, I guess, what is it? You have to know what these people are doing.
Yeah. You have to understand what they're doing. You have to take the information and you have to be the one that makes the decision on how this applies to your company.
Jared, I just don't have time for that though. I'm like super busy.
Well, that's why you have to delegate the work so that you have time for that stuff. That's the stuff you need to be working on. Not out there in the truck working on the tools, not answering the phones, not all this other stuff. You have to do that for a time until you have enough cash to where you can start to delegate that stuff, right? But then you need to start working on, okay, how do we answer the phone? Okay, what's the best way to book a job? Okay, what's the best way to run the schedule?
Sure.
Okay, what's the best way to handle a service call? Okay, how do I train my guys on how to do a proper service call? Okay, what's the best way to price my products and services? Like, okay, what's the best way to do quarterly taxes? How do I avoid paying more taxes so that I have more money to reinvest in my business? That's the stuff you need to start working on as soon as possible.
Sure.
And it comes through delegating. You're basically buying back your time so that you can work on higher leverage tasks.
Yeah.
Because if you're answering the phone or you're out there turning wrenches, you don't have time to work on things that actually make you money.
Yeah.
You're always going to be stuck. Okay. I like this note I got. You're the decision maker. It's your job to understand your business as a whole. The problem with accountants and marketers is accountants think like accountants. Marketers think like marketers. You think like a business person.
Sure.
You're the one running the business, not your accountant, not your marketing company. You are.
Sure.
So you have to make the decisions for your business. Okay. So that's the first way you can avoid paying some useless taxes and have some extra cash in your pocket. Okay.
Yeah. And I feel like that the overall, like the theme of that right there, and probably the whole thing is like, listen, if you can avoid paying those taxes or just don't pay those taxes, then you have more money to do stuff with.
Correct.
And that's super important.
Correct. And you should be tracking yourself how much you're going to owe in taxes.
Sure.
And you should be able to run that calculation yourself. And it's very simple. If you understand your profit and loss statement, you're going to go look at net profit. And then you're going to go look at what tax bracket you're in. You can Google the tax brackets and you're going to get a percentage. And you're going to say, cool, I'm going to owe this much in taxes. So I need to have that amount of money set aside.
Do you only pay taxes when you make money?
Yeah, if you don't make money, you don't pay taxes.
Gotcha. So if you just like never make money, then you don't pay taxes. Okay.
Right. And so you can also track, we're going to get into it, but you can have things that you can depreciate to lower your income that show up on your balance sheet.
Sure. Okay. Gotcha.
And if you know you're going to buy some of those things down the road, you can put less away in taxes knowing you're going to purchase this thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Gotcha.
Or use some of that tax money to purchase this thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll get into that. Okay. So that's one way to avoid taxes. Let's go into these other ones. Number one, you can invest your profits back into your business. If you spend all your money, they can't tax you on it.
Sure. Because then you didn't make any money.
Correct. Right? Which sounds dumb, but for a lot of people,
Sure.
later on in your business, if you've got a decent business that has risk, well, then you need to have some cash reserves.
Sure, of course.
And so you don't want to spend all your money to avoid paying taxes. But early on,
Yeah, sure.
where it's you and a van and you got some tools and you've paid yourself a paycheck,
Yep.
take the profits that your business made and just spend it all. Go buy another van, go buy more tools, go invest in more marketing, like things that are going to grow your business.
Yeah.
Go
What if
do it.
can I go buy like a really cool truck and put my label on it?
No. I don't know why people buy trucks.
Because they're cool.
Who cares?
And then I look like a fancy schmancy business owner.
Who cares about, is the goal to be cool?
Yep.
Okay. Well, if you want to do that, you're never going to have money.
Damn it.
In my mind, the goal is to make money.
I was hoping I could be cool and have money all at the same time. Man, I'm just going to relabel this podcast Jared's Crushing Joel's Dreams podcast.
The goal is to have cash in your bank account. That's the goal, right? Okay. And so you're going to take some of your cash, you're going to reinvest it back in your business. You can buy equipment. Another good one is you can prepay expenses. You could prepay your rent for the following year, right? So come December, if you've got some cash left over, go prepay your insurance and your rent.
Sure.
To get that profit margin down.
Yeah, because if you don't, then the government's going to take some of it, which means you don't have it.
Yeah, you can prepay bonuses. If you give your guys bonuses, you can prepay them end of December instead of waiting till next year to save money on taxes. And you can prepay pretty much any normal business expense as a way to get rid of taxes. I did that one year. I think I did that 2022. I prepaid insurance, rent, all sorts of good stuff just to get rid of it. I can't wait till we launch this and there's some accountant in the comments going, you can't do that, because it's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Next thing you can do, you can buy depreciable business assets. Like
A van?
vehicles.
Yes.
Preferably a van, not a truck.
Yeah,
I don't know why people buy trucks.
because they look cool. We already talked about this, Jared.
It's like totally useless though.
Looking cool is kind of useful.
No, it's useless.
Marketing.
Okay. If you're the kind of if you like have like a couple trucks and you go buy like a brand new vehicle to drive around, just buy a new van and drive that around so that you can use it in your business. Yeah. Don't go buy some fancy truck and depreciate it. Like that vehicle makes you zero money. Why would you do that? I don't understand that. Buy things that will make you money in the future. So when you're going to buy depreciable assets, buy ones that will make you money in the future.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the only thing I would do.
Yeah.
When you start making a ton of money, sure, go buy that fancy truck or whatever.
Yeah, but that's because
if
you're
that
making a
makes
bunch
you
of money
happy.
on your check. Like
Yes.
it's like your take home, all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
It's not like we got to depreciate. I'm going to go get that brand new truck.
Yes.
Kind of want the truck, so it's like a win-win.
I will say that truck ain't going to make you happy.
True. I actually probably annoy you because you didn't buy a van.
This is what I did. I bought a new truck, and it annoyed me having a payment on a truck.
Yeah.
And it was a nice truck. It drove nice. It had lots of room in it. Sounded good. The stereo sounded good. It was comfortable. But at the end of the day, what made me happier was not having that stupid payment.
Yeah.
So I sold the damn thing.
Yeah. I was talking to I was actually talking to Morgan yesterday about this.
Yeah.
Like in his, he's working on trying to move down here and everything. And I was just I was talking through like sort of what I learned and my perspective, and I was like, dude, you should optimize, and tell me what you think of this, but I was like, you should optimize for cash in your bank account.
Yeah.
So like
Always.
if it's going to take you 2 or 3 weeks longer to get here, but you're going to have X amount more dollars in your bank account, that's your choice. Because I've never been in a situation where I've gone, it's actually okay that I have $10,000 less in my bank account. That's totally fine. It's like everything right now is good.
I've been in that situation.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, at some point, your time is more valuable than the money.
Sure.
Right.
I haven't been there just because I'm not at that point where it's like, man, my time, all changed.
This is the equation. It's the amount of money you make versus the amount of money you spend.
Yeah, sure.
There's a gap there.
Yep.
The bigger that gap,
Yeah, sure.
the happier you are.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. And so
Like,
that's like,
and it has nothing to do with like,
mm-hmm.
it's not really the happy you are, but it unlocks freedom.
Yes.
So if you have, the bigger the difference between how much you spend and how much you make, the more freedom you have to do things like spend 10 grand to avoid 2 weeks worth of work.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And that's what makes you, in my mind, that's what makes me happy.
Yeah.
I want freedom.
And that comes down to just like freedom to being able to make decisions without having to think about, okay, well, let's go check the bank account before we make this decision. Blah, 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 blah. You're just like, oh, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
I just know it.
Like people say money doesn't buy happiness. Most people go into business because they want freedom. And they'll agree, money doesn't buy happiness. What they don't understand is lack of money makes you really unhappy. It really sucks.
Sure.
There's a point at which you have enough money and you can cover all of your expenses. And after that point, money doesn't really buy you happiness. But if you continue to live off less, the more you make and the bigger that gap, the more freedom you have. And freedom to me is happiness. So in a sense, it does buy me happiness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It allows you to do things that bring you lots of joy that you couldn't afford to do before.
Yeah. Or even just like the ability to make a purchase, even, well, I'm not even talking like big purchases. Just like you can go to the grocery store and buy the food and you don't have to worry that you went over your grocery budget this time.
Yeah.
Because you bought, I wanted to buy more honey this week.
Yep.
You know, it was a good deal or whatever. And then suddenly you're not like, oh man, I wonder if we can actually make this work.
You can buy expensive groceries and still maintain that gap.
Yeah.
And still keep your freedom.
Yeah. And then you don't have that anxiety hit of like, oh geez, we probably overspent on our grocery budget. We got to like dial it back from something over here. And like all that extra effort that you put into those thoughts just aren't there when you have more money.
Yes. Amen.
So, but optimizing for cash in your bank account seems to be a good rule of thumb.
Here's what
at certain levels of scale.
Yeah, what ends up happening is people start making money in their business and they just inflate their lifestyle to match how much money their business is making. And they might as well just be making the same they were making 10 years ago.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, they have a bigger house and they drive fancier cars and they eat fancier food and but they don't have any freedom. They're still tied to like this constant hamster wheel of having to bring in more cash. That sucks. No way. Not my thing. Okay, so buying depreciable business assets like vehicles, if you use...
What do you mean by depreciable?
Depreciable, you can buy them. Okay, let's just say it's a $100,000 van or $50,000 van. The way it works is on your balance sheet, it becomes an asset that you're paying off over time. So according to the IRS, you can say, hey, I bought this $50,000 asset and I'm going to depreciate it. Like vehicles.
Did you buy it in cash? Did you finance it?
Whatever.
Doesn't matter. Okay.
Vehicles you can depreciate over a 5-year period. Okay. So it doesn't go as an expense. So typically if you're going to buy something, like if you bought a tool, it's just an expense.
Gotcha.
Okay. So you made $100,000. At the end of the year, you buy a $2,000 tool, you made $98,000.
Okay.
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 With a depreciable asset, you made $100,000. You spent $50,000 on a van. You can depreciate evenly over 5 years, or you can depreciate a larger portion the first year.
Just the first year?
I don't know how it works after that because I don't ever pay attention.
Okay.
It's minimal. I always depreciate as much as I can the first year.
Gotcha.
Because I have no idea what next year's going to bring.
Yeah.
And I know I have a tax bill this year.
Yeah.
And I want to get rid of it.
Okay.
That's how I roll.
Okay.
I've always rolled that way. My accountants think I'm crazy. They're like, you need to save some of the depreciation for next year because what if you're going to make the same amount of money next year? And I said, no, I'm going to make more money next year and I'm going to buy more depreciable assets.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm going to knock it out again. Okay. Or I'll just pay the taxes. But I want my money now.
Yeah.
I don't want to do things now for possible savings in taxes later. Okay. So it used to be you could depreciate 100% of your vehicle the first year. Thanks to our buddy Joe Biden. it was 80% this, I think it's 80% 2023. I think this year in 2024, it's only 60%.
Dang.
So if you bought a $50,000 vehicle, you can depreciate $30,000 of it. You like that math, dude?
Oh, man, you're getting good at math.
Yeah, you can depreciate $30,000 the first year. Okay, so if you made $100,000, you depreciate $30,000 of your vehicle. You bring your income down to $70,000, and then you only pay taxes on the 70.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
Okay, so if you're in a 30% tax bracket, now I got to do more math. You just saved $9,000 in taxes.
Sure.
Essentially, you bought your vehicle for $41,000, right?
Yep.
That's $9,000 that you have cash left over in your bank account that you would have given to the government.
Sure.
Okay. The payment on this vehicle is likely $1,000. Over the course of the next year, it's going to cost you $12,000. You just got $9,000. You can basically pay the payments on this van for the next 9 months.
Yeah, sure.
From the money you would have given to the government. Okay. That gives you 9 months to get this van to the point where it's actually making you money.
Yeah. Seems like a long time.
Worth it.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Okay. And that's obviously a calculation you're going to have to run. Can this van make me money in the next 9 months?
Yeah, of course.
Even if it doesn't make you money for the next year, it's going to cost me $3,000, but after a year, it's going to start making me $50,000 a month.
Yeah, sure.
Worth it. Every time. So you can use that money that you would be paying to the government back into your business to grow your business to generate more income. Okay. Very good way to go. That's probably the only thing that I would take out debt for. Vehicles or large pieces of equipment.
That you can depreciate them.
So that I can depreciate them, but only if they're going to produce me income.
Yeah, just don't go buy like
more income than what they cost.
Yeah.
Like think about it. $1,000 a month van payment costs you $12,000 a year. Okay. And we can depreciate the first year. It only costs you $3,000. But even if you didn't depreciate, it costs you $12,000 a year, and that vehicle can bring in $500,000 in revenue. If you're running your business at 55% margins,
gross margins,
that's what, $275,000 in gross profit, and it would be, $100,000 in net if you could maintain 20% net. So it costs you 12, you get 100.
It's a pretty good deal.
It's a really good investment.
Yeah, it's a good deal.
Right? If you have all your other business stuff figured out.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So good deal. Probably one of the best investments you can make. I'll make that bet all day long.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Or any bet similar to that.
But you wouldn't just, because I think I've heard guys do this because I talked to them and they're like, hey, well, we wanted to save money on taxes, so we went out and we bought this piece of equipment and this piece of equipment because they're like, well, we do dig jobs, so we went and bought this and all that kind of stuff.
No, like if you're going to pay cash for it and you had the extra cash and you didn't need the cash to cash flow your business, then maybe. But even then, I'd be like, well, I'll just rent the equipment.
Sure.
And then I'll bill the customer for renting the equipment.
Sure.
I'll mark it up and I'll make money on the rent.
Yeah.
Until I get enough of that work, until that piece of machinery makes me a return on the investment in that machinery.
Yeah.
I wouldn't buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No way.
Yeah, because you got to store it, maintain it, all the things.
Yep. And it kills your cash flow.
Yep.
If you got a huge payment on something and it doesn't make you a return on your payment, it just sucks cash from your business. The hardest thing in your business is cash flow. So I wouldn't do that. Also, I wouldn't buy my vans cash.
Sure.
If you got $100,000 and you buy a $50,000 van, you're down to $50,000 cash. I'd rather have that $50,000 sitting there.
Yeah.
Only for something that is going to make me more money.
Yes.
If I have any other debts, like if I had $100,000 and I had $50,000 in debt on just dumb crap that doesn't make me money, then I would pay that debt off.
Yeah.
Because that extra cash gives you a false sense of security. And I would want that to go away. I'd want to motivate myself to bump that cash balance back up.
Sure.
Cool. Okay. Business assets. You can buy them, depreciate them, save in taxes. Use that money to reinvest back in your business, make more money. Acquire the skills to be able to do that.
Yeah, and the understanding.
Yep.
And to be able to analyze what things you should be buying and why.
All it takes is skill and understanding.
Yeah.
Just like if you're a plumber or an HVAC guy or an electrician, you had to acquire the skills and the understanding to do that job. Now you just have to, when you have a business, you got to get the skills and the understanding to do the business.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
No different. The longer you do it, the better you get at it. The more you understand it, the better you are at it.
The sooner you start acquiring the skills, though, the less money you'll waste / lose by just keep doing what you're doing without the skills.
Correct. Yep.
Because you can fake it till you make it for 30 years.
A plumber,
maybe you'll get there.
A plumber or electrician or an HVAC guy starting a business without learning the skills would be like a first-year apprentice on the job site trying to plumb something or put electrical in something.
Yeah, without anybody there to like
without
give them
anybody
any
there
instruction.
to help them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be like me showing you, be like, hey, Joel, go and plumb this guy's house. He'd be like, right away, boss.
Yeah.
And then I just like, okay, I guess I go to Home Depot first or what?
Imagine all the mess ups you would make. Toilets would be in the wrong spot.
Imagine how annoyed I would be.
Water lines wouldn't be where they go.
No, that'd be nothing, right?
You'd waste so much time just trying to figure out, like, what is this thing?
Oh, yeah. It would take me years.
Oh, yeah.
And it would suck. The end product would be garbage.
Yeah, it'd be total garbage.
Guarantee it.
Yep. That's exactly how your business is. Okay. Next thing you can do is you can buy depreciable personal assets. Okay. So this is kind of what I do. At the end of the day, your business makes profit. That profit is your money personally. Okay. Unless you have investors or whatever, then a portion is their money. That profit goes onto your personal income statement. So your personal tax return is going to have the money that you made from your business. You're going to have to pay taxes on. Okay. The money that stays, if you have an LLC as an S corp, this is actually a good way to avoid a little bit of taxes. It doesn't really matter until you're making a bunch of money.
What do you mean by bunch? Like, what's the threshold here?
Well, I'll show you. Okay. So if you set up an LLC, then you can apply for what's called S corp status, basically. So you're an LLC.
Means you're special.
Taxed as an S corp. Okay, you're not actually an S corporation. You're just taxed like one.
Gotcha. Okay.
So when you make money through a business, you have to pay what's called. I'm probably not going to remember the name of it exactly what it is, but it's an employee tax basically.
Sure.
For yourself. So you're going to pay the tax rate on the money plus another 9%. So it could bump you up into like the 32% tax bracket. The IRS says that you have to pay yourself a reasonable wage.
Sure.
And once you've paid that reasonable wage as an S corp, this only works in an S corp, the rest of the money is considered the business's income.
Gotcha.
And it doesn't have that employee tax on it.
Gotcha.
Self-employment tax, that's what it is. It doesn't have the 9% self-employment tax. So a reasonable wage, like if your plumbers are making, and they don't define what reasonable wage is, so you just have to guess. What I've always done is my plumbers are making this, so I'm going to make that.
Sure, yeah.
And that's my reasonable wage. Anything over that, and so I pay my self-employment tax on that. Anything over that gets taxed at a 9% less tax rate.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So good way to save yourself 9% taxes. It only matters if your business is generating enough income to pay you more than just your paycheck.
Gotcha. Okay.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the beginning, not that important.
Sure.
Once you're making $200,000-$300,000, yeah, it could save you some dough.
Yeah. Gotcha.
It's the way to go. You can also buy depreciable assets. So that income comes into your personal income statement, and you can go buy, real estate. You can do a few different things. You can go buy real estate. That's what I've done in the past. Go buy a home that I'm going to rent out, and we get to depreciate the value of that home. The home is very similar to buying vehicles. On a home, you can do what's called a cost segregation study. And what they do is they go in and they give a value to all the different parts of the home, a lifespan value.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
So like your cabinets aren't going to have the same lifespan as your foundation.
Right. Sure.
Your flooring isn't going to have the same lifespan as the structural framing of the house, right? So they cost segregate all of these things in and they give them a different lifespan, okay? Which allows you to depreciate way more early on than later on. If you don't do a cost segregation study, it depreciates over 29 years.
Gotcha.
Evenly. If you do a cost segregation study, you can front load a bunch of that.
Sure.
It's typically roughly, and this is just easy math to do, is 80% of the total value of the total purchase price.
Gotcha.
Is what you get to depreciate first year up front. Makes sense? So you've got a $100,000 home. You can depreciate roughly $80,000 of it. If you made $100,000, that lowers your income to 20 grand and you only pay taxes on the 20 grand.
Gotcha.
Okay? If you buy a $500,000 home, so on and so on and so on.
Sure.
There's a couple tricks to this though. Like number one, what I do is I put enough money down on the house to where the rent covers the payment plus some.
Sure.
So that it cash flows.
Yeah.
You got to put enough money down on it to where that house cash flows.
Yeah. So you're not just like breaking even on it.
Correct. If you're not going to put enough money down, then you get into the game of you need to go find a deal, flip it,
Yeah.
make it worth more, increase your equity in it, and then it'll cash flow when you rent it. If you own a business, don't do that.
Sure. That sounds like a new business that now you have
It's
to
a
go
new
figure out how to
business.
make money with.
It's a lot of work. It's a skill you would have to develop.
Yep.
And you'd be better off developing your plumbing business skill.
Yeah. Yeah. Diversifying, like going into a new business because it seems adjacent, right? Like, oh, I can like, I do remodels all the time, so I should be able to flip a house.
Yep.
It's like, you're good at this thing already, or just get better at your business instead of trying to do this whole new thing over here.
Yep. So the other thing is with that, you have to qualify as a real estate professional.
Yeah, to be able to depreciate.
To be able to depreciate.
Got it.
So either you or your wife. If you're a W-2 employee in a business or your wife is a W-2 employee of your business or any other business, right? Meaning you get a paycheck and a W-2 at the end of the year, which I do, then in order to qualify as a real estate professional, you have to spend more time on your real estate than you do at your W-2 job.
Gotcha.
Okay? And you have to prove, if they audit you, you're going to have to prove that at the end of the year.
How would you prove that?
You have to prove, like, this is how much time I spend on, you have to track your time, basically.
Yeah, sure.
Is what they want you to do. So the best way to do that is to not pay your wife a W-2 through your business. Put that income on your paycheck. This is going to require you to have joint bank accounts
And some
with
trust between you and the spouse.
and halfway decent relationship with your wife,
Yeah.
which should be your goal anyways.
Yeah, sure.
Some people get weird about that. I don't understand it. It's like you and your wife should be on the same team, not working against each other with separate bank accounts. Strange, but whatever.
Very strange. Seems like a hard way to do it.
Dude, I've seen people try to do it, and I've never seen it where it's like a good thing.
It just seems like it's way more work because you have to keep track of, like, you have to just.
You pay for this, I pay for this. Like, what? No.
Yeah, it's like, why don't we just have money and then we figure out and we talk and then we pay for stuff?
You want my personal opinion?
Always.
The way it should be is the man goes out and works and provides an income and pays for everything.
Sure.
And I think the wife should be at home supporting her husband as best as possible. I don't care if they work.
Sure.
But just add that money in.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Like, why make it harder?
Yeah. I don't know. That's my personal opinion. Take it or leave it. Works out well for me.
Yeah.
Where were we? Oh, okay. If your wife, for instance, doesn't take a W-2 from your business and you have joint bank accounts, then she can be a real estate professional relatively easy.
Sure.
She doesn't have a W-2 income. And if all she does is spend her time finding these homes, buying these homes, managing the homes, she's a real estate professional.
Yep.
You can depreciate, save tons of money in taxes with relatively little of her time.
Gotcha.
Easy peasy. Best way to go. Okay. What else can you do? What other personal depreciable assets?
Boats. Really big boats.
Well, you can take your money and put it in another business as well.
Sure.
And buy depreciable assets through that business.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
So you could start another business, and the goal here is not to like do janky stuff.
Sure.
To do illegal things. The goal is to use the rules that you're given and the system you're given to operate in, do it legally, above board,
Right.
legit,
Right.
but work it to where it works in your favor.
Yeah. And the government provides lots of convenient, we could say, loopholes.
They're not loopholes. They're
Right.
They're trying to incentivize you to grow your business.
Yeah.
That's why they allow you to depreciate your vehicles.
Yeah.
They want you to reinvest in your business to create more jobs, to create more money, to create more cash flow, to stimulate the economy.
Sure.
So you're just taking your part in stimulating the economy. By
What's
doing
funny
it.
about that is because like the tax professionals wouldn't see it that way, right? Because they would.
Some of them do.
Sure. But even like in the description of like, well, Jared, you shouldn't pay the fine. You should eliminate your ability to grow your business.
Eliminate your ability to grow your business.
Which the government would say like,
that's what Biden wants to do.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, bombs are expensive, dude.
Bombs are expensive. Dude, what did I do here? I got us all mixed up here.
Oh, because you got a secret page in there? This is part of the podcast where Jared's got to figure out his note life.
Dude, I took notes for this podcast. I like it. Okay, here we go.
You
Ready?
should page number them
Last
next time.
one. I should. Be way better. I should just not write it so big so it's all on one page.
You can get a magnifying glass. Like the one that goes over the piece of paper.
That's what we're going to do.
Yeah,
From
I like
now
it.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my grandpa.
Be like, we're just going to turn it into a detective show.
Oh, yeah, I like that. Can we get the detective hats
Yeah.
and the smoking pipes?
Oh, dude, we should smoke.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, then we just... My kids... Actually, Isaac told me, he's like, Dad, if you ever smoke cigarettes and do drugs, I'm going to take them away. That's what he said. And then I said, cool. And he's like, what would you do? like asking me, like, how would you react to that? I'm like, I don't know.
My brother-in-law got caught smoking cigarettes when he was like 8 years old. My father-in-law,
boss.
My father-in-law went and bought a pack of cigarettes and a can of chew, and he made him put a big old dip in his lip and lit up like 2 cigarettes, and put a bucket over his head and made him smoke those cigarettes.
Oh man,
until he puked.
Does he smoke now?
No. But what's funny is when he got out of high school and moved out, he started smoking.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those things where you're like, this will teach him,
Yeah.
but then or it might not.
Yeah, I think. Who knows? Kids do what they do.
They do what they do.
They do what they do. Whatever. Okay, last one. You can run your income through multiple businesses. Okay. Easiest way I know how to explain this in a way that makes sense for home service. Rather than buying your vans and depreciating them through your main plumbing business, okay, you can start up another company. You can start a leasing company. You can buy vehicles from the dealership and then
through the leasing company?
Through the leasing company. So your leasing company owns the vehicle. The leasing company will be able to depreciate the vehicle. And then you lease those vans to your plumbing company or your whatever company you got, right? And so your plumbing company pays your leasing company the lease payment. That's an expense to your plumbing company. So you don't pay taxes on that expense, right? It lowers your income.
Sure, yeah. Okay.
Your leasing company takes the money from your plumbing company and then it depreciates the vehicle and doesn't pay taxes on the money it makes from the lease that it's getting.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so you're basically avoiding taxes twice on that. And it in the beginning, it's not that big of a deal.
Sure.
But when you get to 10 vehicles, it could be an extra $60,000 a year that you're not paying in taxes.
Yeah.
Worth it. It's not that hard to start another company. It's not that hard to set up that automatic payment to the lease company. You pay your bookkeeper a little bit to manage the books on your leasing company. and it's a money-making machine.
Yeah.
The other cool part about that is if you ever sell your business, they can continue to lease vans from your leasing company.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's a good way to go. The other thing you can do is you can have a real estate company, like a holding company that holds all of your real estate, which you should set up if you're going to buy real estate anyways. And you can buy the building that your business operates out of.
Oh, gotcha.
And then your plumbing company, same thing, can pay rent to your holding company, and your holding company can depreciate that building and avoid taxes that way. And it can end up being quite a bit of cash that you get to hold on to,
Right.
especially at scale. And not even that much scale.
Sure.
Like you get to 10 trucks and it spits out quite a bit of cash.
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So that's a good way to go as well. The point of this whole podcast is really just the focus of your business should be to maximize the cash output.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
That's the reason you're in business in the first place. You know? Okay. Next podcast, we're going to talk about why focusing on margin is the most important thing in your business. And we're going to walk through some examples of the effects that if you just change that one number a teeny tiny bit, how massive the effect can be on your cash flow and your net profits at the end of the day. It'll be a good eye-opening podcast. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, if you haven't gotten our playbook yet, it's right here. This copy's been hanging out forever.
I know, that's like an OG copy right
It
there.
is. It's the OG copy.
Have you ever made any revisions to it, or is it still just the exact same one as when you first?
I've made one revision, and it's going to get some new revisions coming up. We'll let you know when we do. But if you want to download
When's the paperback coming so I can put it next to my Hormozy books?
man, I don't know.
Sounds like a lot.
I don't know if I'll ever do it.
Yeah.
If you want a copy of this, it's free. If you're on YouTube, link is in the description on this video. If you're listening and you're awesome, go to wealthyplumber.com/playbook. Grab a copy. All you got to do is give us your phone number. We'll text you a link to it. You click the link, takes you right to this, a PDF of this book. You can save it on your computer. You can print it out. You can get it spiral wound, whatever you want. But there's a ton of good info in here. And there's a free calculator to teach you how to price your business. And then if you guys want help in the end of this thing, or when you grab this thing on the next page, you can book a call with our team to see if we can help you out with your business. Don't be the guy who thinks it's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
Be the guy who says, there's information I need to learn that I can implement to make more money.
Yeah.
It's craziness.
It's craziness.
Here's the thing, like, and I want plumbers to get the help they need. That's it. I want them to run a successful business.
Right.
I want them to go get the information and go run a business that's legit and successful. Our industry needs it.
Yeah.
In a bad way.
Yes.
There's so much focus on, there's two problems that I see. There's the people who just struggle to run a business because they have a bad mindset and they don't, there's a lot of people that don't, they think like, I got to offer a cheap product and keep expenses super low and not pay my guys very much and cut costs. And that hurts because it hurts the plumbing trade as a whole, because nobody wants to be a plumber because you don't get paid enough.
Right.
And it sucks.
Right.
And the guys you work for aren't running good businesses and they're no fun to work for.
Yep.
And that's lame. And I want those guys to go, there's a better way to do business where I can have happy employees, really happy customers, and I can run a really good business and make really good money. Awesome. There's also the people out there that never talk about how much profit they're making out of their companies. And they're pushing revenue with no idea how much money they're actually making. No clue. And it creates this false sense of I want a $20 million company, $100 million company.
Sure.
And I know that a lot of those $100 million companies, $20 million companies, they don't make any profit.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would want that.
Yeah.
And I want people to be able to run a business that accomplishes the goal that it's supposed to, which is put cash in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my mind, if you have an opportunity to learn something, to put more cash in your pocket, why wouldn't you take it? Like we were talking before this podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we get people that sign up for these sales calls,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, I know there's stuff in there that I need to know, but I'm scared, or
really it comes down to I'm skeptical it won't work for me.
I'm skeptical it won't
because
work
of
for me.
This, and this, whatever it is.
Yep. So, and here's what I'll say. When you get into our program, I would get into a program. Doesn't matter if you get into our program or what, but go get the help you need, number one.
Yep.
When you get into a program, if there's somebody who's been more successful than you and they lay out on the table everything they do in their business that creates the profits that they get out of their business, what are the chances that you're going to go in there and learn one thing that's going to make your investment back?
Pretty high.
100%.
Sure.
I can guarantee that 100%. What are the chances that you're going to go in there and you're going to learn two things that make you more than your money back?
Pretty high.
100%. So there's zero reason. There's like zero risk. What are the chances you're going to go in there and if you just do the exact same thing that this guy was doing to make millions of dollars every year, cash in his bank account, it's going to make you millions of dollars every year in your bank account?
Pretty good.
100%.
Yeah.
It is. It's 100%.
Yeah.
The only thing that will stop a person from being successful if they have the knowledge is if they don't put it to practice.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, and if they don't consistently put it into practice.
Yeah.
They don't grow in discipline.
If they're not willing to put the work in.
Yep.
So if you're willing to put the work in, all you got to do is learn the information, and given enough time, you will gain the skill of becoming successful.
Sure.
It sounds too easy because in theory it is, but the actual work of staying consistent and doing the things and learning the information, it takes a lot of work.
It takes a lot of self-transformation.
Yes, and that's why people don't do it.
Yes.
But it's right there for everybody.
And the thing is it's no different than if you wanted to go and get strong or go and lose weight. There is a way to do that. It is very simple.
Yeah.
It just comes down to you actually doing it.
Yep.
And
yeah, it's like
it's not hard to go and lose weight.
If you went and lived with somebody who's ripped head to toe and you went and ate the exact same things they ate and worked out the exact same way they worked out, what are the chances you're not going to get ripped head to toe?
Very small.
Given enough time.
Yeah, very small.
Zero.
Yeah.
It's absolutely zero. It's a system that works. You lift heavy things, your muscles grow. You eat enough food and protein and the right stuff, and your muscles grow. Why are people still fat?
They just don't want to put the work in.
Why don't I have bigger biceps?
You don't want to put the work in.
Right. The bigger biceps aren't worth the work of putting in the work, right?
Yeah.
So I remember I was watching this, man, who's that guy? It's a YouTube channel. He owns a homestead. And he took
Justin Rhodes.
Justin Rhodes. He wanted to take the word I can't out of his vocabulary. And instead of saying I can't, he would replace it with I don't want to.
Yeah.
Or there was something else. Basically, I don't want to.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I can't get bigger biceps. No, that's not the truth. I can. I don't want to. I don't want to put in the work to get the bigger biceps, which means I'm either lazy or I really just don't want them that bad.
Yeah.
And that's how it is for everybody with everything.
Cool. Thanks, Jared.
Okay, go grab the playbook in the description or www.wealthyplumber.com/. playbook. See you on the next one.
See ya.